neoclassical theism is logically coherent.
Oh my god, bro.
Okay,
Sorry,
extrapolate on what you mean by
metaphysically coherent.
logically
My bad, my
coherent.
bad. Metaphysically coherent. My bad.
Metaphysically coherent, extrapolate on that.
Okay, it's just saying, all we're saying there is, well, when we look at the tenets or the holdings of the view, it doesn't fall into any absurdity such that we would say it's incoherent. What we might incoherent is unattainable in some possible, metaphysically possible world or state of affairs, such that all we're saying by coherence there is that it's we can apprehend it, and then further than that, the specific apprehension, like we can probably create some imaging there, especially if we're talking about metaphysics. And then beyond that, well, maybe we could talk about some just conceptualization, even if we can't map any imaging on there with the apprehension. So it's just going to be the negation to proposition.
Yeah, okay, so are you saying within any, well, I'll just say within some given domain that the properties or the things that the domain allows to be feasible allows us to determine what's coherent or conceivable within that sort of schema?
If you're using those symmetrically, I mean, that's acceptable, but what do you mean by domain? Like, I don't understand this domain.
Okay, when I say when you say a possible world, domain can be a virtue of, I don't know, let's say the actual world or something similar to it. It's just any sort of system wherein this rule is being applied. That's all I mean by domain there.
Okay, so you just mean a possible world.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
If you're just saying that in any sort of possible world, that the properties or the conventions of the possible world tell us what's feasible, and anything that deviates from the feasibility of that domain, you would say is absurd.
Sure. Repeat the question.
Huh?
My dad was
Okay, would you say anything that deviates from the feasibility of that domain is absurd automatically?
No. That should be something.
Okay, well then what about in this instance? It needs you to say that it doesn't deviate from, because obviously like the reciprocal would work. If we say X is not X, Y.
It's not something that simply we just don't find to be the case. It's something that we say based off of pro-factuals. You can't make some sort of epistemic claim or other sort of modal claim that are going to be the case. That's typically what we're talking about there. Not just, well, as in the state of affairs. It's kind of just to say, well, it's not the case that I'm playing basketball with my friends, right? But it could be the case that some possible world that right now I would be playing basketball with my friends. There's no metaphysical or even physical or nomological holding theirs or factuals or pro-factuals that would bar this from being the case in some conceivable reality. That's all we're saying.
You think we can use pro-factual types of pro-factual types of claims to ground what is? Like when we're talking about what's actual?
What do you mean? What it? Yeah, it depends what you mean.
Okay, I'm talking about actual. I'm saying what's actual.
So what do you?
Yeah, because the initial proposition.
What is actual?
Okay, well, yeah, we can just say is the case or that's fine. Because the initial proposition that we're discussing is that neoclassical logic is logically coherent.
Theism.
Theism. It's not a logical. Yeah, that's fine. Theism. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's logically coherent. Well, it seems like you'd have to be saying it's actual, because obviously our framework has to be logically coherent because it functions, unless you want to say the domain that we reside in is absurd, but that's nonsensical. So if that's the case, you're saying it's actual. So we're now also by proxy saying that we can use pro-factuals to ground the types of claims that are actual, and I'm not sure why that would be the case.
Wait. So I'm trying to understand here. Where are you saying in my claim that it's embedded that I'm saying that it is the case that classical theism is true, or is the case?
The initial proposition is that it's logically coherent. Our domain, or I'll say our world, if that sounds easier. I'll say our world functions based off logical coherency. So you would say that within our world, it is also logically coherent for us to accept neoclassical theism. Well, if that's the case, then it has to be actual under your view.
When you say that, are you just simply saying that the factuals there aren't stratified across these possible worlds? Is that what you're saying? So it could be the case.
Well, it's not.
That's the only thing that I'm using. That's doing the work there.
Well, the possible world semantics don't actually matter anymore because your argument is about actuality. So even if they're upholding the possible world, I don't really care. I'm only concerned about the actual right now. Because once you mix these notions of these pro-factuals of what is, we're not talking about what could be anymore. We're talking about the actual. So anything about a possible world doesn't really mean anything here. It's trivial.
All right. So what do you even claim is saying then? If you're saying that we're not really concerned with Could
Yeah, okay.
possibly be the case if you're saying are you saying we're not taking into account what's actual? Because if we're taking into account what's actual,
Okay, no, that's all we're worried about. We're only
okay.
evaluating the actual, but you're using perfactuals to ground your claim. So you would also have to be saying we can use perfactuals to ground what's actual, not what's possible. And I need motivation for that because I'm not sure
Well,
why that would be the case.
why am I saying that?
Okay, yeah. In your initial justification, when I asked you, what about leads you to say that anything that's not logically coherent, or sorry, anything that doesn't deviate from what's feasible within the domain is logically coherent? And you said, well, it's not just because it doesn't deviate from the feasibility of the domain, it's because of the perfactuals we can use to evaluate in some possible world. But it seems like your claim is actually actual. So now you're saying that the perfactuals are able to ground what is the case or actual in this domain that we're evaluating.
Okay, I see the confusion. When you say feasibility there,
Yeah.
well, what I said wasn't necessarily denial. It was more of a exhaustive account or explanation about what I'm saying specifically about these things. And I gave you the example of, although it's not the case that I'm playing basketball right now, there's nothing about the state of affairs, or what is actual, that would denote that this is some absurd idea based off constraints.
Well, yeah, that's
because we put
that's why I
constraints onto
use
these
feasible.
models. Because what's feasible, and so far
But
as
that's why you use
different
feasible instead of
insofar
possible.
as different constraints. Insofar as different
Yeah, no, that's
constraints.
fine.
That's the all I'm doing there is giving myself more room to breathe. I'm not denying the feasibility. All I'm saying is, well, it depends on what you mean by feasible. Because then
That's
what you could collapse is, well, if you don't qualify what feasible is, then feasible could just be in the physical sense. But
well, we've
if you're
already
talking about some
established
metaphysical grounding, then that doesn't
feasible
have
is
to be
just
the
by the
case.
functions of the domain there. We've already quantified that. Well, we've already extrapolated on that. Feasible is just what the conventions of the domain allows for. If we say system X allows for Y, then Y is feasible in system X. That's all feasibility is.
All I'm saying is you misunderstood the analogy there, or the specific example, because nothing about the example invokes what you're saying unless you can provide that.
Okay. With this very specific course of the dialogue, it started. You said it's true, and then I asked you why, and then you said some shit, and then in the defense of that, you brought up these possible world talks and these perfactuals, right?
That's the
But
whole.
your
That's
claim,
the talk from the beginning.
yeah, and then your claim is that it is, right?
What
And when we
is?
say X,
What
that
is?
that neoclassical theism is logically coherent, so that's an actual claim.
Yes.
So the defense of that would also have to be something that's actual. Like we
Yeah.
wouldn't defend the
It would.
claim
It
that
would.
X is
Yeah.
actual or possible X, right? In the defense of that, you says that it's not just because it doesn't deviate from the conventions; it's because of the perfactuals we can use, right?
Yes. It's
Okay, great.
Sure.
So what about
Sure.
perfactuals allow us to grind actuality? That's what
Actuality.
I'm asking.
Okay. When we say coherent, there, all we're saying is as acceptable or as possible as coherent. It's not some whatchamacallit. It's not some alethic claim. It's more of a what? Do you have a contention?
It's possible that it's coherent. That I don't think. That makes any sense.
No. I'm saying coherent. No, coherence there doesn't evoke an alethic claim. It doesn't. It is not saying anything like what's true about reality. It's saying that what's
fine.
acceptable about reality, or the ways that reality could have been. So when I say, once again, just going back to the original analogy, if I say, well, it's feasible or it's coherent or it's logical that, say, for example, if I said your mom's a B word to you, that you get upset. That doesn't mean that it is actual that I called you, that you said that your mom is a B word, or anyone's mom is a B word. Sorry, that's a bit of a crude example, but the point there is just to say that there is some scenario in which we can imagine or conceptualize in which, if the state of affairs were different, that this reaction or this alethea, at least in that instance, would be acceptable. But if you want to say that the kind of thing that I'm saying is that it is possible in some world, and you want me to motivate that, that's fine. But that's very different when I say that something is coherent.
That's the opposite of your claim. This possible world talk is almost meaningless because your claim is that it is. So even if
it is what?
there's some sort of domain that let's say there's some domain X that has completely opposite to whatever allows you to consolidate that we should accept a neoclassical theism as something that is, that doesn't actually matter. When you say X is the case, you're saying within this domain it seems to function. So this possible world talk doesn't mean anything at all. It's completely meaningless. We're just talking about the actual
okay. Just make it really simple. So when I say this is coherent, you think there's some alethic claim?
No, when you say this is coherent, typically that's just saying that this is sensible or we can make discernible claims about this thing,
Okay,
like
so if it's
without
not
any
a
sort of
okay,
contradictions or
okay,
logicality. So
okay,
no, it's not an alethic claim.
okay, if it's not an alethic claim, and say it's some possibly like
Alethic and actual aren't the same thing.
okay, what do you think aletheia is?
Yeah, aletheia is just the types of truth talks, like
Okay,
or
so something
say
is true. So when we say something is true, you don't think that's compatible with saying something's actual or use like reflexive there?
no, because it's based on the conventions of the domain. I can say that with an X, it's
That's not. We're
actual
not.
that
Well, you
Y is
said we're just talking about the conventions of domain. We're just talking about
well,
what is
no, okay,
actual. So
wait,
why
the
is it
distinction.
relevant to bring up
Yeah,
like alternative
yeah, I'm telling
domains?
you.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
explaining. So the important distinction between this alethic talk and what is actual. Well, when we're saying what is true, we can just be saying that it's the bounds that allow for a proposition or some sort of claim to be accepted. Like within the domain, if the proposition can be accepted,
I
we
disagree.
can say that proposition is true of the domain. Would you agree to that?
No, I disagree. So, oh no, it's true to the domain. So that's now you're qualifying it while trying to stay ambiguous with the language being used. So when we say true of the domain, then we are saying it's actual in such like in said domain because sufficient conditions are met there, such that we accept that it is the case, right? Then when we say it is the case, typically we're talking about what's actual. But when you say something is true, we can just once again. Whether you want to go to coherent, we can cash that out using like the Oxford Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, whichever like lexicon you want to appeal to, and then even with this word that you just gave,
Dude.
truth, we can appeal to any
When
lexicon there. We can even appeal to Stanford
wait,
Stanford
when you say
philosophy. You gotta understand what I'm trying to say.
when you say
My point
true,
is when you say satisfiable in
yeah.
that domain, what you're saying about the domain is say there's these variables that are being fulfilled by
Well,
this claim, such that in the whatever is being said, like if we say this is some sort of non-ontic statement, just like a proposition is floating somewhere, et cetera, right? This proposition actually maps out into reality. So if we're saying a proposition
no,
maps out into
okay,
reality, I think that's actual.
that's the confusion there. What about anything I said says that the alethic talk is grounded on some correspondence relation, and
We're
I don't
talking
think
about
I've ever
possible
posited that.
worlds.
No, whenever you
Why
say
not?
that there's these types of propositions. Wait, possible worlds doesn't mean it's in a correspondence sense. Are you saying it's in a correspondence sense because we're talking about possible worlds?
Yeah.
Well, okay. What about possible worlds invokes that aletheia claims have to be in a correspondence sense? What? I think when we're evaluating these elitist claims, especially because we're talking about possible worlds, we'd actually be using them in a pragmatic
I
sense.
agree. I agree. When we're just qualifying those like simply in the modal talk, like what's possibly true, what's necessarily true, et cetera, et cetera. That is true. I agree. It's not only the
Well,
claim, but when we talk about
no,
something being
that's not what I'm
true,
saying.
when we talk about something being true, it being true in a possible world, what we're talking about is some state of affairs that
That's
makes
not.
a proposition or a claim about the world true. So we're
That's
saying
not what
that
I'm saying.
it's mapping out onto something true about such a world.
Yeah, you don't see how that just reinforces the precept I just mentioned. Like you're presupposing that the grounded for elite claims
When
is
what do you
some sort
think
of
possible world?
correspondence
What are
relation.
possible worlds looking?
But
Well, what are we examining when we talk about
possible
possible
words are
worlds?
just some system, domain, convention, or area that would deviate from what is actual. But that doesn't matter.
Okay,
Like when we're talking about this
okay,
elithic talk,
okay.
wait, but when we're talking about this elithic talk, you're presupposing that the grounding is some correspondence relation. I'm saying the grounding for this sort of aletheia is a pragmatic application. So it's not actually grounded by some sort of correspondence relation. It's a
Okay, so are you
pragmatic.
just saying? Are you simply saying that your view on Alethea is some pragmatic view? Because that, like, I mean, that's
Okay.
just that it seems unqualified. Before, I mean, we could talk and discuss about that of like why I would accept some like
What?
pragmatic view, but up until this point, if we're just taking that's what I've been like using, like it's kind of invoked with talking about
That's
correspondence. Like, it's kind of obvious. So if I say, well, whenever I make a proposition like, oh, there's a
wait.
fruit bowl next to me, and the proposition is true, well, what that's mapping out onto is that, well, there is literally in reality a bowl next to me. But if you're saying, well, now what you want to say about truth or aletheia is that it's referring to something that is acceptable or something's useful there, then we can discuss that and why we accept pragmatism as some like value or evaluative like how you say like controller or how you say foundation across aletheia in general.
Okay, the first thing, like you just repeat the example of where we say we already accept correspondence and then we
I'm saying we
deviate from
don't
that
have to.
to the
I'm
pragmatic.
saying no. I'm saying
Well,
we
no,
can discuss if you don't believe that's the case. But that's because
yeah,
I'm
wait.
saying that's
I
the way I
don't.
was using it and I
Your
was
argument
qualified.
presupposes that when we use a talk, that's in a correspondence sense. I'm
That's
disagreeing
fine.
with
What's
that.
the issue?
That's
What's
not.
the issue with that?
Yeah, okay. I'm disagreeing that when we invoke aletheia, it's in a correspondence sense because the
Okay,
pragmatic
okay, then let's
evaluation of
discuss
aletheia
that.
would be
Okay,
the
okay, then
same.
okay, that I'm saying
Wait,
that makes your contention more clear now because I was being
yeah.
explicit in how I was cashing out Alethea here, and you were being ambiguous in how you were giving a contention, just saying, well,
I
I
gave a
have a different
specific
I have
negation.
wait. I'm saying now you have. I'm saying this wasn't clear beforehand because whenever I'm talking about, well, you said because also what you want to say, the type of thing you want to say is, well, why is this Aletheia claim when we talk about possible worlds and satisfying the domain going to be something that's corresponding? And I'm giving you my account, so you're asking me a
Well, no,
clarifying
wait,
question there. That's not
wait,
that for which
no,
I have to
that's
explain under your view
wait,
why it's true.
wait, no, wait. Just to be clear, like I didn't say that. I specifically, I didn't ask you why is it a correspondence relation. I didn't posit a question. I posited a direct negation. I said that these types of claims aren't in a correspondence sense; they're in a pragmatic sense. So me
Afterwards, this
saying
was
X
afterwards.
isn't the case. It's not asking you a clarifying question. I affirmed something contrary to your position. That's not a clarifying question. I said no, and I gave the why.
That's after I exhausted
No, no,
correspondence.
dude. Oh, the very first time you brought up a correspondence relation, I disagreed with that,
Yeah, I know you disagreed, but you did it through a line of
and I
questioning and
specified.
clarification.
I didn't ask you
No,
why.
you didn't. But let's
Wait,
move
wait.
on. Let's move on.
We can
Let's
play
move
back
on.
the rec. I didn't ask you why.
Yeah,
I
we can appeal
disagreed
to
and
rec.
said
We
it's
can appeal to rec. That's
pragmatic.
fine. That's fine. We can move on.
Asking why I'm disagreeing now.
We can move on because that's
Yeah,
not
yeah, okay.
that's not a
Yeah,
how you say
I'll
that's
start
not an
again.
internal critique. It's an external critique. So when we say when you say that Aletheia, insofar as referring to possible world semantics, there is going to refer to something from a like pragmatic view, and not like actually talk about the content of the properties. In such a counterfactual example, like, do you want to just discuss like the reasoning, like why that makes more sense than why pragmatism would a pragmatist alethic view would take a priority over that, or would you want to appeal to
Yeah, I
like
mean, yeah.
the scholarship or the literature? Like, do you want to invoke the
Oh, yeah,
literature?
I don't even kind of care about the literature. I don't think that means anything. But
Wait, why don't you care about the literature? Because this is the system
what?
that
Okay, well,
like
no,
that
the
which
literature can
we're using
disagree
to
with
invoke
me,
the
but then I
language.
just question the literature. I don't think the literature is some sort of grounding for the claims. Like the truthfulness of it can deviate from the literature. So I don't care what the literature is saying. But in response to a pragmatic account opposed to a correspondence relation, we would say that typically, like especially actually in your own argument, you're using possible worlds to establish some sort of inferential relation opposed to some sort of ontological furniture. So it seems like
Sure.
we're actually evaluating counterfactuals in a sense of the utility indexed to the proposition, and then we evaluate the different schemas that allow for this to see if they're consistent. That's the pragmatic account. So it seems like
I'm just gonna attack pragmatism, like the pragmatic account of Aletheia in general. Well, what
you're just
decides
gonna
what?
attack. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna attack in total. I think that correspondence is embedded in the view. So what determines
Better? What
or
does that even mean?
embedded? It just means presupposed
Oh,
or is less.
embedded,
Yeah,
embedded.
embedded.
I thought
Sorry,
you said it's better. Oh.
Mm-mm. Embedded. Okay. When you say pragmatic, what does that mean?
Yeah, pragmatic is well. I can give operational definition. It's just the evaluation based on utility.
Operation based on utility. Okay. What term?
No, no, I said an
What?
operational definition.
Okay, that's fine. What? Okay, give it again. I'm
It,
sorry.
yeah, yeah, that's fine. It's just evaluation based upon utility. So we grounded
Evaluation
it in
based upon
functions.
utility. Okay, so that evaluation, I guess you could say the conclusion there must be is forced by the utility. Correct.
Sorry, repeat yourself.
The conclusion there of the truth or acceptability is forced by the utility. Correct.
What conclusions instantiated by that?
Okay, repeat your definition just so I don't make sure I'm not strawmanning you.
Yeah, it's when we say something's pragmatic, it's just an evaluation based upon the utility,
Okay, the
like indexed to the
evaluate. Okay,
system.
by evaluation, you don't mean conclusion there. It just means like, what do you mean there? I'm sorry. I must be.
Evaluation, no, it's uh, like even in the most common sense, like any dictionary would say evaluation is just like looking over something and paying attention to the functions, seeing how those like work and shit like that. I don't.
So
What about that's indicative of a
no,
conclusion?
no, I'm not saying it is. I'm asking for
Okay.
clarification. Like you don't.
Okay.
There's like and also I remember you're infinitist. So there's not like there's nothing definitive we're really coming to there. It doesn't seem because you're saying it's just some look across like a data, but it doesn't seem to actually posit anything true about the data or make any claims about the data.
Well,
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
that presupposes atheism is terminal there.
Oh well. I
I
mean,
don't,
I don't. I don't.
atheism will be
No, no,
terminal.
no, I just want clarification. We have to talk about that. Okay, my question is, well, what determines utility? How is utility evaluated or determined? If that's what we're trying to look into,
It's relative to the domain, so there's not a universal
relative
qualifier
to
for
the
what
domain.
determines
Okay,
utility.
and
So yeah, we can say that.
what is the
I'll
domain
give an
again?
example. Then yeah,
Possible
well,
world, right?
not necessarily. I mean, a possible world is encapsulated by the term domain, but
I mean,
say
that's what we
possible
agreed to
world
at the beginning of
domain
the
is just.
discussion. So how are you cashing
Well,
it out now
I
again?
gave multiple things. I said domain is either a possible world or some scenario or systems that we can use to evaluate claims
Systems.
based upon the functions.
Okay, what do you mean by
So
system?
there's just junk. Domain would be a more exhaustive account
What
of
do you
what a
mean by
possible world
system? What
is.
do you mean by
But
system? What do you mean by system?
system can just be some set of rules, operations, or
Some set
functions.
of rules, operations, or functions.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't think I really don't think that. Yeah.
when we evaluate system rules or functions,
Well,
you
I'm
think
saying there's no universal quantifier there. It's contingent upon what we're evaluating. I can give an
okay,
example. If we say that,
what is that? What is that? What?
okay, the what is not
Yeah, what is
universal.
it?
When I say it's depending on what we're evaluating,
Okay,
it depends
okay,
on the domain and it depends on the
okay,
claim
and
within the domain. Let's say
I'm
we have the claim an apple.
asking. Okay, yeah, an apple.
Yeah, I'm giving an example. I'm
Okay,
giving an
okay.
example to clarify. Okay, let's say we have the claim an apple is red, and we're trying to see the truthfulness of this claim. Well, then we would look within the domain and see the things of that, opposed to the agent of who's affirming that, and see how it would help the domain ascertain this.
So
So the goal,
it's depending on the properties and the variables of the domain, correct?
yeah, that's why I always say.
Oh, okay. So we agree that my view is embedded in that. If I just say correspondence, just referring to some properties or variables that we find to be the case in any scenario or some scenario. So it just seems that my view is. It just seems. It just. Yeah. That's how I'm cashing it out. You have an issue with that? It's operational definition. You have an issue?
Wait, correspond. I just want to be clear. When you say
Yeah.
correspondence, you think that means that it's talking about just the variables? I think correspondence.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. For example,
explicitly.
no.
Okay,
Yeah, wait, no. You asked me. Is that are you finishing the question or like are you now trying to make a point from that presupposition that you just gave?
no, yeah, the question doesn't actually need a response because I was just gonna negate that notion. If that's what you're saying, correspondence is,
Yeah, I can
I
just
disagree
respond.
with
I
that.
can just respond to that. That's what I'm saying. Like you don't have to continue.
I mean, I guess.
Okay, so correspondence is just typically, at least in the way that I'm using it, once again, just referring to the alignment or agreement between a belief and some objective fact or thing about reality. So if we say the thing about
Yeah, that's
reality, sorry.
that's the
Let me finish.
contention.
Let me finish.
Well,
So if we
I'm saying
say,
you don't have to come with
wait.
that's the
So
position.
if you say these domains aren't something that are is what you call it, something that we're evaluating, something objective that we're actually like observing there to make some sort of to make some sort of like what you said pragmatic truth claim about it, some elithic
Well,
evaluation of it. If there's nothing being evaluated, then I think that your view just falls into absurdity
that's
because
not what's being said.
I don't think you can evaluate nothing. I think you have to evaluate something.
I'm not saying it's nothing. Okay, dude, when you say some objective thing about reality, I would disagree with the things that are objective or even conceivable, interactable by us.
By
in any
reality,
sort of
reality could
model.
say some
I would,
conceivable system, That's all I mean by reality.
that's fine. I'm saying I don't think the types of things that are objective are interactable by any sort of agent. So for us to make the claims about what is objective, obviously we would have to have the capacity to rationalize this, which presupposes interaction.
What
But
do you
I think our
mean by
cognition
objective?
is stipulated on phenomena, not these sort of pneumatic principles.
What do you think objective means there?
Objective can just say brutally is the case, or is the case without any sort of contentions, or
That's not what I
is the
mean.
case absent
That's not
of
what I
the
mean.
mind. So we would just say an
That's not what I
objective
mean.
claim is a
That's
claim
not
that's
what I
mind
mean.
independent.
That's not what I
What do you
mean.
mean by objective?
Objective, I just mean present because just say ontologically present.
Present
Yeah, I could say present.
is wait
Ontologically present. That's what I mean by it.
ontologically present.
Yeah, that could be fine. Or featuredly like present. It's just present. It exists
Wait,
something.
okay.
There
If it
exists something.
exists,
Yeah.
then it's subjective. Is that what you're saying?
I think if something exists Yes, I think if something exists, it's objectively like yeah. If we mean by
Oh,
object,
okay.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
If it
Actually, that's
exists,
fine.
okay. Okay, wait,
That's
wait.
fine.
And
Actually,
okay, so do you think like sentences, words, like when we construct things, articulate things, would you say that those words and the things that they're invoking exist?
yeah, I don't see why not. They could be in the
Okay, so
virtual.
if I say X is probabilistically accepted over Y, you would say that X is objective because X
Yeah,
exists in a
yeah,
listicle sense?
that's yeah. Like for example, like
Hmm.
I can break it down in reality for you,
Okay, that's a
right?
P and not P.
Wait, no, wait, no,
That's a P and not
wait,
P.
wait. I'm gonna explain to you why that's fine. Like, when we say that something is like
That,
objective in the sense that well, it's real or it's ontic in the sense that it's present. I mean, that doesn't mean that anything from that is true. I'm not saying objective in the sense we're talking about some epistemic claim there. We're not saying, well, this is objectively true. That's not what we're talking about. It's just to say that the sentence that you said has objectivity to it. The sound waves, like if we look back on the recording, that is something that was said. So when I say objective there, all I just mean is fully or wholly present. I don't mean anything else by it.
yeah, okay, well, we just agreed earlier that when we invoke sentences, the things of that sentence are fully holding the present too, because all things of that sentence to be
So we
construed
agree.
have to exist. So wait, hold on.
So we agree. So we agree.
Yeah, wait,
Your
wait,
view
hold on,
requires
listen. No,
your
I
view
understand what
requires
you're
something
saying.
to
We
be
don't
the
agree. I
case.
think that's a
If
problem.
something
I
is the
understand
case,
you. I just think it's a problem.
then it's then it's embedded within your view that something is
Wait,
corresponding there. If we say that
wait,
something
listen.
corresponding
Yo, we
is something
don't
that's
agree.
objectively
Me
present.
understanding your
It's something that
position
must
doesn't
be
mean we
that it is
agree.
present. It's
Me
not
understanding
absent.
your
There's
position
no
doesn't mean that we
absence. There's
agree.
no absence.
Hello? Am I
What's going
muted?
on? No, you're not
Me
muted. What's up?
understanding your position doesn't mean we agree. I understand what you're
Okay,
saying. I
attack
don't
it.
agree with
Attack
it.
it. There's no P
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
P.
So the whole issue is that you would say since all parts of the sentence exist,
Uh-huh.
all parts of the sentence are objective. When you say objective, you mean it's present. So you would say that all the things are present within this domain, but the types of things that are actual within this domain, right? If you say X is present within domain Y,
Why?
X,
No, I'm a
what?
necessitarian. That doesn't invoke a necessitarianism. Why isn't?
Actual and necessity aren't the same thing. So what about
I'm
that's
explaining to you
indicative of
because you
necessity?
what you're saying. Okay, I'll explain it. I'll explain to you. Maybe I'm confused, but it seems like what you want to say is anything or everything is actual in this case, right? Everything is wholly present.
No, no.
Or what do you want to say? Okay, go ahead.
Well, that's why I specified the evaluation of the domain. Like
Oh, go
if
ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
talking
I
to you
misunderstood. Go ahead.
and
Go
I
ahead. Go
say
ahead.
this apple is red, right?
Yeah.
You would say all parts of that sentence exist, obviously, because
Yeah.
an agent had the capacity to make notions of that.
Yeah.
If all things exist, you would say they're present. You would say the types of things that are present are objective. You would say the things that are objective are actual. Therefore, all aspects.
Nope. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Objective things are non-actual. Well, I just want to. You said no. So, are you saying objective things aren't actual?
When you say actual there, I mean it depends on what you're cashing out. If you're saying that it corresponds
I mean,
to some, it
actual in the
corresponds
sense
it
is
corresponds
the
in the
case in the domain.
sense in the case of the domain. It depends on what you mean, but that's
Is
fine.
the case in the domain.
Is the what do you mean
Like
is the
how
case?
you how
Well,
you brought up the
that's what
apple
we're
thing. There's
evaluating.
an
Well,
apple on
what
the
we're
table.
evaluating is what is the case in the domain. So that seems like it kind of seems like
That's
if
not.
I listen if I were to answer that question, that would seem to just be kind of going circular on what I want to invoke because that's kind of what you're putting into question. So that's not a question I can really answer like cleanly.
What the question's irritatically valid though.
Okay,
So
no.
I don't think
No, it's
within
not.
the debate.
It's
Wait, I don't think
It's
within the debate
aerotetic.
we can
It's
progress linearly.
it
We
could be
may ignore the
aerotetically.
questions that are irritatically valid.
It could be aerotetically valid in the sense that a loaded question would be aerotetically valid. There's nothing. There's no answer I could give there that's
I don't think a
satisfiable.
loaded question can be irritatically valid.
Why not?
Sure, when we say irritatically valid, it typically means that it's the types of question that allows for progression of the domain insofar as the things that the question is evaluating are
Yeah.
implicit or explicit of the argument being provided. But when we're asking a loaded question, it would actually deviate from what's implicit or explicit of the argument insofar as to get our opposition.
I think
to reach
I think a
specific
loaded
conclusion.
I think a loaded question could be off topic. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the
Wait,
specific domain.
that's what I said. That's the whole problem. That's the whole point. Irritatically valid isn't off topic. When you ask a loaded question, it deviates from what's
Okay.
explicit
When I
or
say
implicit within
off
the
topic,
argument.
when I say off topic, I'm saying I mean that's actually a good response. Okay, I'll explain. This might answer your question. When you say is the case of the domain, it is the case of the domain that the thing was said or the thing exists in reality. It's present. It's wholly present. But that
Yeah,
doesn't.
exactly.
Wait. I'm going to explain to what that means though. Just because something is wholly present does not mean it ranges over some universal quantifier forcing anything new about the domain. Me
That's not
saying
variables
there's a
can
wait
be
wait
new. That's all.
let me finish. Me saying there's a married bachelor does not, and that's true of the domain. It is said that there's a married bachelor. It is objective that the phonemes came out of my mouth, right? But that doesn't force anything about the domain to embed some P and not P there. There's no issue with
That's
accepting that.
well, okay. The issue is in the conceivability. Like, if I were to say there is a square circle, obviously you would want to say we can't allow contradiction, so you would reject that. But you would say,
Reject
well,
what?
that there is a square circle because that's contradictory. We reject contradictions.
Okay. When you say reject what you said, I don't see how saying that.
No, not reject what I said. Reject that there is one. It was a multifaceted claim.
Oh,
Like, the
okay.
first thing you would want to do is reject that there's actually a square circle. That's the first thing you would want to do. No sensible person would say there is a square circle, right?
Okay.
So, okay, first we reject that, and then now within a sentence, under your view, all aspects of that sentence are objective. and
No,
present,
see, there
right?
we go. There. Okay, that's what's making clear.
Well, I stipulated present. All aspects of that sentence are present. Not that they're
No,
actual,
no, no,
or
no.
not that they're
Yeah,
being actualized by the domain, but they're present. All things of that sentence are present. So the essence
yeah,
or the
that's
semantical
fine.
base of the things in that sentence are also present, right?
What do you mean by like conveyance there? If you what do you mean by conveyance? Is that
When
there's a
I
contradiction? Then that's
when I
fine.
say
If
apple,
you mean
when I
there's a conveyance here, there's a contradiction. That's fine. I think contradictions exist.
you think contradictions exist?
Yeah, they're whatchamacallits. They're
I don't
virtual.
think
They're,
contradictions exist.
I'll explain to you what I mean. The conceptual notions for us to grasp things that have a how do you say have a there's a word for it. What? It's this word for it. I'm tripping. It's just like I don't want to use contradiction here. I'm just gonna look up a synonym. I'm telling you, I'm looking it up right now. Contradiction.
Okay, well, I mean,
Synonym.
if
I'm gonna
it's
explain.
easier, I can just take the negation.
No, I'm explaining it to you. It's okay. Disagreement, inconsistency, similarity. There's another word. It's like okay. This concept allows us to grasp polarity there. There we go.
Polarity doesn't invoke the same thing as a contradiction.
What do you think polarity is?
Yeah, when we say polarity, we're just talking about, like, well, I don't even know what it would mean in the conventional sense. Like, scientifically, it wouldn't. I guess
We could
we
say
these
we
things
could
are
say
opposite.
colloquial. Wait. We could
But
we could use in colloquial sense. So so they say these two people are polar
yeah,
opposites.
colloquially, you would just say they're opposite. But
Yeah,
contradictions
okay.
aren't inherently opposite.
What do you mean by opposite? I think something's direct negation is the like it's the opposite of it in a sense. It's a
Well,
direct it's a direct wait
well,
it's a direct negation of all the meaning that comes from a thing. So if I say that there's something that's like if I say that there's something that it's omnipotent and also omnipotent and limited. I mean, I don't have to say omnipotent and not omnipotent for a contradiction to be embedded with that with the meaning of the words there. They're polar opposites, and the contradiction isn't embedded within there being a direct P
well,
and not P. The P and not P is derived
well,
from the meaning of both
that's the problem.
sentences or
That's the problem.
both premises.
That's the problem. It's not wholly opposite. It's opposite in aspects insofar as it's trying to negate the primary notion.
Okay, and
Like,
I'm
like
telling you, and
your
what contradicts, and what,
extrapolated on that.
yeah,
All it's
exactly.
doing is negating
And
the primary
what
notion.
what contradictions allow you to do is to pose ideas in their in direct polar negations of their ideas. If you want to say the not
It's not
P, yeah, a P and not P can be some
the
relation
essence.
of some.
I'm not saying the essence is upheld. The essence is an opposite. It's just the evaluation of the essence that is opposite. That's why we use the negation.
When you
sentence.
whenever
So it's not.
if that's if we derive one, but we would still say a not P like we say like this is a crude example, but like matter and antimatter, like the negation of matter or no, like matter versus no matter, or there being matter and no matter at the same time. We would say no matter is polar or opposite to that of matter. The state, especially if we talk about ontologically, if we say tree and not tree, like tree and not tree, we're saying not tree is the opposite, is the absence of there being some presence of a tree.
Dude, polar is the opposite in totality, contradiction is
Wait, why?
opposite
Wait,
in the
why?
essence.
Wait, why? Wait, why? Wait, why?
Yeah, you said you want to use a conventional conveyance. I assume you just conform to some sort of dictionary, right?
We could use a
When you
colloquial. I said no,
say
no, no. I
the
said we could use a
colloquial,
colloquial. We could use a.
colloquial conventional are the exact same thing. I'm not
You think
wrong.
so?
Yeah.
When you say convention, I think colloquial is relative to like the society and ages. But
Colloquial is how the
it's a
common
moot point.
populace
It's
would
it's,
apply
it's,
it.
it's, it's a moot point. It's a moot point. I think honestly,
Yeah.
I think the
But
specific polarity point is not a good way of articulating the specific
but
convenience there. But
I mean,
all that's being said, Echo. All that's
on
being said
everything,
is that
I don't think that
all
I
that's
don't think that
saying
matters.
all that's
Not
being
wrong.
said. You can just you can attack this. All that's being said is contradictions allow us to understand the notions that cannot obtain, because if we did not
I
understand,
disagree. They don't exist.
okay, you don't, when you say contradictions don't exist, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, the variables or the types of qualities, fuck, that we would look for in something that exists or that we would use to evaluate what exists. A contradiction lacks those qualities. Therefore, we'd say it doesn't exist. If we use X to discern what is,
um
Y doesn't meet X, we would
when you
say
say
there is no Y.
what is, are you talking about what's
What exists? What
what
exists?
exists? Are you talking, are you also talking about abstract or features?
Abstract?
Yeah,
I'm a
like if we say,
physicalist.
like, like
I'm a
Platonism,
physicalist. I'm a
you're a
physicalist. I'm a
physicalist,
physicalist.
so you think all things are physical.
There's not
So if, okay,
abstraction.
let's say
If
who's here?
W Gauss,
Allahu
dude.
Akbar. Allahu Akbar was here. Oh my God, I love you so much. Are you saying that this is the only system in which it's satisfiable to say that it is the case, or do you find that even within my system, it is the case that contradictions can exist insofar as conceptual notions for us to grasp? Oh my
well,
God! Oh my God!
that guy's money spreading.
Oh my
But
God!
no, whatever metric you're using for existence, like to say something exists, I'm
Oh
saying that's
my
flawed.
God! Um, when I say exist there,
No, that's I'm not asking what you mean by the word. I'm saying like, however you determine what does and doesn't exist, that's wrong. It,
what's
it doesn't matter what
the
it is.
the
Like I
valuation itself?
however you came to that conclusion is flawed.
Because because simply all things will reduce to physical existences, or because in any
Physical
domain,
existence can exist.
using existence in this way is
Okay,
going to lead to some contradiction. I need to
okay.
be clear,
Firstly,
because
the
I would say,
physicalist thing.
why do we accept physicalism? That's what I would say.
Okay, yeah. Firstly, the physicalist claim was because you made notions of abstraction. Typically, abstraction is attributed to non-spatial temporality. I don't think those things exist, but
I
I'll just say
agree.
that.
No. Abstraction. Abstraction. Wait. Abstraction could just mean some mind dependent thing, or thing that is not instantiated yet. It could be. It could be some virtual thing, or thing that is in between some imminent state.
Virtualistic properties are not spatial temporal. That's why they're virtual.
When you say spatial temporal, what do you mean by that?
The normative conjunct of the two. It's just within space and time. I don't know how to give it like a deeper like, account of that. It seems
You
simple,
don't
like
have like
surface
a you
level.
don't have
I
like
don't
an
know.
account of time, or I think
I reckon they're
I
knowledge.
think like, for example, under A theory, just like if we take a presentist view, I think you could say that at one point there is some idea, or there's some notion
Is
of
A theory
something.
wait
Some,
presentism? Okay,
yeah, there's some
I'll
notion.
say I'm a
Wait,
B theorist. Presentism is
there's some
incoherent.
notion of something that at some
Or,
point becomes the case.
presentism is incoherent. B theory is acceptable within this domain, so we should use it for this discourse.
Why?
It's abductive. Yeah. There's observations within this domain that lead us to accept the things of B
Like
theory. We can just say the type. Yeah, we can just
what's
say.
objective?
Hmm?
Like what's the objective evidence there that's increasing like the
The
acceptability? Like
principles
what is,
within
yeah.
Einstein's general papers.
Okay, why should I accept those? I reject those.
You reject those? What does
I
that even
do.
mean?
Why I reject, I just don't have any reason to
Not why. What do you mean
acceptably.
there?
Wait, what do I mean? I don't think
Yeah,
it's
when you
true.
say you
I don't think
reject
it's
the
true.
observations, what does that mean?
When you say observations, I don't believe that any, like, I don't, like, for example, if someone says, "Oh, the moon landing is real," and I said, "Oh, I don't believe the moon landing is real," and they I don't think
Reject the
it's true.
observations. What?
It could be the rejection of some, like, say someone says that I have a photo of me on the moon, right? I could say, well, I could accept that there is this photo, but this is doctored evidence. This is not a real observation. This is faulty. I could also say,
How do you
well,
ground that?
I don't. What do you say?
So cash that out. Like,
Cash
if you're
what out?
trying
Like
to apply
the
this
moon landing
principle.
isn't real? Is that what you would have cashed out?
No. Fuck no. If you're trying to
Wait,
apply this
no.
principle,
That's what you asked me to cash out. No.
no. If you're trying to apply this principle to general,
General. Well, we could just start like with this. Like I'm not aware of any of the posits or the statements about reality that are like, we could just say some like modus tollens thing there. Like, I'm just not aware of anything that would make me accept the antecedent there.
wait, you think not saying reason to accept is a basis for rejectance? Saying I don't see why we should accept X and I reject the notions of X are two
Sure.
very different
I
implications.
agree.
You
I
said
agree. Well,
you
I
reject X,
clarified.
not that you don't see
Yeah.
why X.
I asked you first. I said, why should I accept it? And then I said, why I personally I do reject it. So the first question comes first. Why should I accept it?
Okay, I guess I missed that, but we'll say we should object. I'll just say it's conventional. There we go.
It's conventional. When
Yeah.
you say it's conventional, what is that saying?
The layman would be led to believe this as the case. Therefore, it seems like it's less problematic to accept it as the case.
Okay,
That's why you should.
the layman would accept it as the case. Therefore, it seems okay to accept it as the case. Why isn't it?
Yo,
Now you're making some odd statement. Why isn't that just like an appeal to ad populum? Why
What?
should we accept appeals to ad populum?
but yo,
What?
Secret, when am I debating 10 or whatever happened with that guy?
It might be tomorrow because they canceled, or we canceled.
Hmm?
All right, but
That's how language works. That's how communication works.
That doesn't force truth there, though. Like the ad
I didn't say it
populum.
is true. I didn't. That wasn't my claim, so that's okay.
When you say
You said why should
when
you
you
accept it, not
when
why
you
is it
okay
true. I
okay
don't
when
care
you
if it's true
say
or not.
acceptable, what do you think I mean? Or sorry, what do you mean by accept there? Because I think I mean something different when I say
Well,
accept.
accept can just be allows us to affirm or rationalize as the case for the progression of a dialogue, like specifically like to contextualize that
Okay,
there. But when
okay.
you're saying it's true, I don't really care about that. Like you can motivate in a debate why there should be a square circle, even if I don't think that's true. So what's
So
true or not true? I don't think that means anything.
sure. So when you say that it's acceptable, you're not saying anything that is rationally binding. You're just saying that it's productive for the conversation simply.
Yeah. Whether it's true or not, I
Okay,
don't care.
why isn't this just something defeasible insofar as, well, when we want to affirm, sorry, whenever we want to talk about, well, do you even think propositions are truth act?
Fuck no, I'm gonna leave it honest.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it honest. I don't
Okay.
think truth is the metric we use to accept any sort of claim.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
not
think
gonna
truth
lie.
matters.
I'm
It's
not gonna
trivial.
lie. We're just like, we're going into a bunch of different views that I forgot how we got here. Okay, I want to address what's
Yeah,
relevant,
okay,
and then we
we
can
got here
conclude.
because your initial claim presupposed that we can use pro-factuals to
Yeah,
violate
no,
the
I understand.
actual, and then
No. I understand how I'm saying specifically from that to the
oh,
pragmatism to this to that to this to that. That's all I'm
well,
saying.
because in defense of your claim about pro-factuals, you said that it seems to have some sort of correspondence relation,
Yeah,
so we
and
can
then
evaluate
and then
that.
I typed the yes. I no, I understand how we
Oh,
actually got here. It's an expression. But when
okay.
you say simply, okay, when you say simply that you're a lethic nihilist, or that, well, we don't accept this truth. Sorry, we don't accept acceptability isn't based upon the actual value or substance of the rational bindings there. It's just based upon what we've been told, or what we've been, I guess you could say, conditioned there. Then
Specifically within the
I
discourse?
think within the discourse, then that to me finds it defeasible in one of your earlier tenets, which is that we take the truth of something by its utility, because if there is no truth, or there is no if there is no truth
That's
or rational binding there, then there is
that's
really
not what the
then
elitists want to say.
acceptability becomes arbitrary. No.
That's not what's being said. It's not being said that there is no truth. It's saying that truth isn't a necessary condition for the acceptance of a proposition. So, like, let's say an apple is red. There can be a
Okay,
truth to that
okay. That's for about
but the truth of that
propositions.
claim isn't why we
That's
accept it. So
about
I'm not saying there
propositions.
isn't
I'm talking
truth.
about the populum. I'm not talking about the propositions. I'm talking about the ad populum. You're saying that
Okay,
the acceptability.
even
You're saying
ad
the
populum, like
acceptability.
whether it's true
You're
or
saying the
not,
acceptability there. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It's saying that we can have an acceptable claim that is true, or we can have a true claim that's unacceptable. Like any sort of combination of those two, they're not contingent on each other. They can coexist, but they're not
Sure,
contingent. We don't require a true thing. We don't require it to be true to accept it. The populace can accept what is false, right? But we
sure.
still say that's the claim that's accepted,
Okay.
right?
So when you say that B theory, I mean, you didn't say B theory is true, no?
No,
No,
that's why
no,
we
no.
can accept it.
We can accept it. When you say we can
Yeah, you asked
accept,
why should we accept it
yeah, yeah.
specifically. That
When
was
you
your
say,
question.
yeah, yeah. When you say, like why we should accept B theory when talking about the nature of statements, so we're talking about the nature of what's virtual and what's actual, because you said you don't believe that things outside
We were
space and
talking
time.
about
You said, yeah,
temporality.
temporality. That's fine, correct. Whenever we're talking about a metaphysical tenet of the universe or something that's not just locally binding but universally binding, why can't this just be the type of thing that's defeasible?
Why is it universally bonding?
You don't think general relativity is talking about the universe?
Oh, I thought when you said universally bonding, you mean in all
I mean, that's
instantiations. If you
talk.
mean
Well, I mean, if you going back to the original discussion,
no,
we were
no,
talking
that's
about
wait, wait, that's fine.
profactually,
If you mean
profactually.
universe is in our universe, that's fine. I thought you meant a universal claim, as in all domains this claim would be upheld.
Okay,
But
when
if you
you know,
just mean
even
talking
even
about
even
our
that, don't
universe,
you?
then sure.
Did you not say earlier that you believe that claims made about other domains is going to be referring to the utility of the domain that we're appealing to, or that we're
Yeah, yeah,
or
that's
the
I had a
populace?
problem with you saying
Okay,
if
so
you
if
were
that
saying
if
it's
that is if that
universal.
is the case that we're appealing
Wait,
to the populum of the current structure, then that's still going to be based upon the same theories. No, why would it be different?
no, okay, wait. Why would a different domain allow for different conclusions? Because
That's not what the question is asking.
I read the question.
Okay, the question is asking, well, if the system is simply saying, or your entire argument in the first place is to say we can't talk about the ways that things could have been typically using profactuals, or that it seems a little bit
No,
confusing.
it was why could we?
Why could we? Okay, we're questioning. Sorry, not making any affirmation there, but questioning why could we? But at the same time, while using that system, it seems contradictory. That's all I'm saying. It seems to attack
Wait, I
something
don't.
or reject something that was previously accepted.
Yeah, what's the PNRP? Can you
It's
articulate
it's,
that?
it's not it's not a okay. It could be p fudge. Let's just say x p x, not x. The x here is just gonna be um the denial or the skepticism towards. Well, actually, are you saying? Are you
Denial is
wait 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 wait? Are you saying wait wait? Are you saying that you no? Are you saying that you can accept this in one vein and then be skeptic towards it in another? Are you saying it's acceptable?
what?
Are you saying it's
Using
now
profactuals to
acceptable?
evaluate what's actual? That hasn't been motivated. I don't see why we would.
Okay,
I'm
that's
just
what you
saying
wait
that
wait wait. But you
that
just said but you wait wait wait. Okay okay okay. But you're so we don't use what's the profactuals to evaluate what's
no, I
actual.
said I don't see why we'd use profactuals to determine what's actual. That's all that's being said there. Like,
Okay okay okay.
I don't, but that's not a denial. I don't think we should use skepticism and denial in the
That's no,
same
I
vein.
agree, I agree, I agree. Okay, I was a little bit confused with exactly what you're saying
Yeah.
there. Okay, okay. When you say that this isn't a universal claim that isn't expressed across all domains, but you want to say this is the kind of thing that binds the things that do range over all domains, because you want to say, well,
What?
propositions. If you want to
No,
say that, okay, so it
I don't
is.
think there's any
Uh,
universal quantifier.
Okay, so it is the case that there is a possible world in which, or it's acceptable, there is some domain where it's acceptable to say that propositions or statements or these type of things that are virtual are attainable, especially under A theory. So you're saying A theory is attainable.
If you're saying if all this being said, there's that is conceivable without a contradiction, then sure, I don't care about that. Like I
Okay,
said,
so
this
that
possible
I
world
mean
probably
that's
doesn't mean
fine.
anything. We're
Well,
discussing
then
what's
that's
actual.
completely fine for me to accept conventions there that people accept something, and I guess you could say move forward with a discussion about, okay, like you want to say, well, assuming this is the case, right? Then these are some of the type of conclusions we come to. But that isn't really what at least to me, I'm really concerned with. I'm not really concerned with, well, is it the case that people believe
Well,
B theory is true, so
secret.
we can accept it? I asked you clearly and verbatim, if it is acceptable within another domain or system, is it an issue to accept it for the same sorts of reasonings is that, well, there it could be the case that people accept this or in one area over B theory. For example, people before the
Yeah, I'm saying
21st century
I
accepted we could say they accepted A theory over B theory.
don't, I
So
don't
the
even care about
acceptability there,
that.
like, are
That doesn't matter.
using some like a conventional abductive
Well,
argument?
well, whether that is or isn't the case doesn't matter. I'm discussing what's actual. So even if, let's say, in 20 billion gazillion
You're
other
not when
domains,
you say actual, you're just talking about what's
the
conventional.
case in our domain, we're
No,
evaluating general
you're
relativity
saying
and why
okay. The
you should
case in our
accept it. Wait,
no. When you say
wait.
the case in our domain, you're talking about what's conventional, not about what's true of the domain.
Yeah, I don't.
Because you
That's
don't not you're
fine.
not
Yeah,
concerned with. Okay, so I have
yeah. I'm not.
I have a
I
question. When you
didn't say
say
true, so that's fine.
I agree. When you say acceptable of our domain, how do you deal with the fluctuations of, for example, like old evidence or prior beliefs that negate
I don't think it's terminal. I think truth is some sort of updatable
we're not
processes.
talking
So I
about
don't care.
we're not once again we're not
Well, you
talking
said
about
how
truth.
do I deal with the, like old claims? That's the
Oh,
explanation. Truth isn't terminal. So if we have claim
okay.
X and I say
Okay.
X is true, and that goes into B theory. There
So
can be some later
so with
temporal point
so with
where we say
updated
X is
evidence you would
false.
accept A theory.
What?
So with
It's
updated
possible.
evidence you would accept A theory. Now it's possible. No,
I can't say I would. It's possible.
okay, it's possible. We mean you would. That's the system that you're going under. No, if it exists, if the evidence exists, then you would accept the new system. No, because you're talking about updating evidence.
Well, the difference is
Sorry,
that it lacks the
updating
capacity
claims,
to be actual.
updating
Well, it lacks
beliefs,
the capacity
updating
to be
beliefs,
actual because
updating
your
beliefs.
question
You said
implicitly.
wait. You said it lacks the ability to be actual. That's a modal claim, but you're saying that you're only talking about what's actual. If you're making a modal
Okay,
claim,
here,
then you
wait.
must be taking some universal claim. If you're not making a universal
I
claim,
think.
then you have to accept that it's
Wait.
attainable.
I
If
think.
you
I
don't
think this
accept
is
it's
easier.
attainable,
It's
if you don't
not.
accept it's
Listen.
attainable, you
Hold
have to
on.
defend it. You have to defend that it's
Listen.
necessary.
Yo, listen. It's not possible. I think that's a simpler claim. It's not possible.
It's not possible. A theory is not
No,
possible.
based on the way, based on the way you said that if the information is updated, you would then accept A theory. You say updated, then those imply sequential temporal happenings. You know what that's implicit of? B theory.
No.
So you're saying if we have B theory and the things in B
I'm
theory
no. All I'm
happen, you would
saying.
accept A theory. That doesn't make any sense.
Listen. Echo. You because now you're like you're baiting, bro. Because like now you're like you're rage baiting. Listen. Okay, let me reconfigure the statement. It exists. Okay, and here's the evidence because you weren't aware of it, or you're not aware of it. The evidence is it seems that it seems that there was some before and after state. Therefore, there is some before and after state. That's the new evidence. I think words, arguments can count as evidence. Give me
New
some
evidence.
It's
New
new
evidence.
evidence. I just gave it to you.
Okay, great. Hold on.
It's an observation.
That's still
you think
B theory.
do you
That
think
means
evidence
there
are
was some prior.
observations? You think wait, hold on. You think observations are evidences, right?
They can be. It's not a
Oh, they can be.
necessity. But
Okay, they can be.
but wait, that
Okay,
doesn't
so it
matter.
is.
That's not what I'm
Wait, when you say
denying.
when
I'm
you
not
say
denying that there's
can,
evidence.
it seems
I'm
like you're referring to some potential state, which refers to some like A1 and A2, which presupposes A theory. So it just seems that A theory is true.
Secret. Did you hear what Secret said? Secret. You said new evidence.
No. You said can.
There was
You're
some
referring to
prior
some
moments.
potential.
This
You're
evidence
referring to some
wasn't
change.
there.
Change
So
is
there's
wait.
distinct
Change
moments.
is just progression. Progression is just A theory, bro. Progression is not
No,
attainable in B
that's
theory.
what the fuck? That's terribly unsymmetrical. But
Bro. I just gave you the symmetry relation.
you think
Give me what's the symmetry
relations
breaker?
are
Yeah,
automatic?
what's the symmetry breaker?
You think?
Go ahead.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Wait. There's no inferential grounding for the symmetry.
There's no inferential grounding for the symmetry. I just get if P then Q. How about that? Do you want to hear it or
Telling
is
me
it?
the inference rule doesn't inferential.
Yeah,
grounding.
modus
Those
ponens.
aren't the
Modus
same.
ponens. Contrapositive. What's up?
I didn't ask for the inference. Inferential grounding and inference rules aren't.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misheard you. When you say inferential grounding, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, okay. We say that inferential grounding is just what we can say what makes a statement true, justified, or meaningful, but that is placed within a network of other inferences that allow for implicit or explicit things.
Well, I don't. That like endorses or embeds pluralism. Why is pluralism true? Like, why isn't just one true view?
What the fuck? What
Why
about
isn't
implicit and
when you
pluralism?
say inferred, you're talking about some system of beliefs now.
Well, we can have those contingent to the one belief. I can say that the singular belief is that there is God, there can be things of that within the premises that I
Mm-mm.
infer to connect to
When
the
you
other
say
premises
when
that are
you
still
well, why
unbelief.
does
So
differentiation exist? I think there's only truly one thing.
why does differentiation exist?
Yeah, what's the argument of it with the proposition?
Okay, yeah, no, I'll absolutely an
I,
absence
bro,
of
let's
it is
conclude. I'm not
absurd.
gonna lie. Let's conclude, bro.
Yeah, no, we can conclude.
Wait, you think
I
you need to be
echo I
conclusions for
smart I
conclusions?
win.
Like, what's the argument for that?
I echo I smart I win. All right, you
Okay,
can
I'll
conclude
explain
now.
why I won because well, Jorno is cool and